From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Day 2 of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Scouts battle extreme heat. But can the crop prevail? In the East, the focus is on the Hoosier State.
USDA currently has Indiana penciled in for a record corn yield this year. But is that what scouts saw on Tuesday? We'll have coverage from Pro Farmer Crop Tour coming up.
While in the West, concerns about the impact of drought grow.
There's no doubt that this year's crop in Nebraska will be better than it was a year ago. But areas of lingering drought and especially this season's heat have once again trimmed yield potential.
The latest scouting reports as the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour rolls on.
Wow, that's some pretty good looking corn there.
Yeah, not terrible.
Right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. As scouts head out on day 3 of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, they won't be just trying to survey and measure corn and soybeans, but trying to stay cool. High heat in the forecast again today for both the eastern and western legs of the tour. Take a look at this map from the National Weather Service. Check out the maximum daytime high temperatures for today. Around Illinois and Iowa, where scouts will be spending their day, temperatures are expected to be in the triple digits. And it's much the same story on Thursday.
Coverage of the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer combines cutting-edge research with one of the largest local testing programs in the industry to help farmers succeed. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
And it's obviously not just people that will be suffering in this high heat, but crops and livestock as well. But the heat started to creep in on Tuesday as scouts in the east made their way from Indiana into Bloomington, Illinois. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan kicks off our team coverage of day 2 of the tour. From there, Tyne, drought not much of an issue in Indiana, and USDA has called for record corn yields for that state.
Well, Clinton, we know that just one route does not speak for the entire state, but the route we were on Tuesday in Indiana, scouts there definitely did not see record yields. And part of that may have been due to the dryness that hit in early June.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
As day 2 of Pro Farmer Crop Tour sprawled across Indiana in the east,
Pull out of here.
scouts found a solid stand count in corn. And in soybeans,
I count 39.
the pod counts were also strong. But for Eastern Leg agronomist Mark Bernard, Indiana's corn crop wasn't impeccable on his route.
Well, a little bit disappointing on the corn side relative to what the hype was when we came out here. On this route anyway, on the first 4 samples, it hasn't really blown me away.
Bernard says field by field, he was more impressed with what he saw in Ohio the day before.
The first one out of the chute today looked really, really good, but it was only 14 kernels around, so that takes a little bite out of your yield. We're probably looking at someplace in the 190 range. And that's not bad, but it isn't the 200 plus that I was expecting to see.
Most of the things that we see right now that are having trouble or challenges were planted after Mother's Day and on.
But Brian Schrader says even with those issues, he still thinks his area of Indiana will see an above average crop.
What percentage of that above average will be seen at this point, but I feel very good about where we're at. Little disease coming in late that could have some impact, maybe not so much on plant yield, but on harvestability.
The biggest concern right now, tar spot.
In my geography, I'm seeing it significantly higher levels than what I've seen in the past years.
He says it's the crop planted after Mother's Day that's the most susceptible right now. It's also the later planted soybeans he's concerned could take a hit from this week's heat.
There's a lot of these beans that because of our recent rains have got some pods in the top that could still come on and develop, but the heat could really have an impact and take those out.
There we go. We're seeing very deeply rooted plants in general on the tour, and that means that the plants are breaking off at the stem instead of coming out by the roots, which is unusual. It shows that there was moisture stress in June, which has caused the plants to become more deeply rooted, and now they're more resilient.
A possible sign of hope that these soybeans could weather some of this week's heat. Reporting from Eastern Leg of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour for AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan.
All right, thanks, Tyne. In the West, scouts were entirely focused on Nebraska, and as they traveled, drought conditions were becoming more evident. The latest drought monitor putting more than half of the state in drought, with almost 15% in extreme and even some areas in exceptional drought. This part of the tour traveling from Grand Island, Nebraska to Nebraska City. AgDay's Michelle Rook traveling with the scouts there. And Michelle, the high heat making things even more difficult for Nebraska growers.
There's no doubt that this year's crop in Nebraska will be better than it was a year ago, but areas of lingering drought and especially this season's heat have once again trimmed yield potential. This has been a familiar sound in Nebraska this year, with many farms applying near to record amounts of irrigation water, and they aren't done yet.
It's been nonstop since we've been planting. A lot of pre-watering early on too. We just got to keep pumping as much water as we can.
You know, we're definitely going to be doing some irrigation into September.
Add the excessive heat and pivots have not been able to keep up, which is trimming top-end yield on corn.
I think we're definitely going to take some off the top. You know, probably test weight in the corn for sure. You know, we're just really affecting that grain fill period.
And crop scouts found good but not great yield potential on that crop.
I'm going to call the irrigation crop in Nebraska about normal.
Irrigated soybeans still look healthy with good potential, but farmers expect yields to be off of average.
I think before this hot spell on our irrigated stuff, we had a chance to be a little bit above our APH, and I think this hot spell will kind of bring us back down into that area and level.
And with the lingering drought in Nebraska, dryland corn has suffered again this season.
But I think what we're counting for the corn crop is probably, if we get a 150 yield, I'm guessing it's probably going to be close to that.
Soybeans held up better under drought stress, with their pod counts only running 6 to 7% less than irrigated, but he says they won't finish with this weather.
They're going to lose that top cluster. So they're going to end up being 10, 12% less minimum because they won't be able to fill, because right now the 11-day forecast has no rain in it.
Despite these challenges, the crop is still better than last year's catastrophic losses.
In Nebraska, I think they've had some late rains, and I think that's really going to help fill this crop out, both corn and soybeans, for the dry land.
In Nebraska, I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. And let's take a moment to go over results from day one of the tour. In the East and Ohio, Pro Farmer Scouts calling for 183.9 bushels per acre for corn. That's up more than 9 bushels from last year, also ahead of the 3-year average. Checking out soybeans in the state, 1,252.9 pods in a 3x3 foot square. That's up more than 10% from a year ago and up almost 8% from the 3-year average. Back out west and in South Dakota, where corn yields are expected to be 157.4 bushels to the acre, a whopping 33% higher than a year ago, but up 5% from the 3-year average. As for soybeans, 1,013 pods in a 3x3 foot square. That's up 16% from last year, but down more than 2.5% from that 3-year average. And later tonight, make sure to join us again for Crop Tour Live as we unveil results from day 3, which will include Illinois and parts of Iowa. You can join us at 8 o'clock Central. You'll find the link on agweb.com or on the AgDay social media channels. As we've said, this dangerous heat is going to be sticking around for a few more days. Meteorologist Martin Lauermore joins us with an update. Martin.
At Clinton, overall, the jet stream is going to be showing us that the high pressure has been sitting over a majority of the nation. This big heat dome is finally going to start moving off back toward the west and honestly losing general intensity. That's going to be lowering those temperatures over the next several days. So as we get into our Monday and Tuesday, a lot of us, especially in the more easterly portions of the U.S., will be noticing much cooler temperatures. So this afternoon, it's going to be hot. We're going to be seeing hundreds all the way up to parts of the U.S. that we don't usually see them or most of the year. So it's going to be very hot for a good portion of us, but as we get into our Saturday, starting to notice a little bit lesser on those temperatures and continuing that trend as we get into our Sunday. So overall, we are looking good over the next couple of days, still on the warm side though. And hey, we don't want to forget that spring wheat harvest is still going on. Ernie capturing some of it for us on video near Grafton, North Dakota. Should be crossing the finish line pretty soon. I'll have more in your forecast coming up in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Martin. And another map to show you in regards to this heat. USDA's Meat Animal Research Center continuing to update areas of concern for cattle heat stress. The areas in red on Tuesday considered in emergency territory. And as you can see, most of the country's fed cattle are in the bullseye of this heat wave. And the issue is expected to last for several days more. Cattle producers like Derek Pohl of Dorchester, Nebraska, doing all they can right now to protect their livestock. Derek saying in this video he posted online that he's hauled almost 15,000 gallons of water so far to try and keep animals comfortable. He says the lots aren't pretty, but they're keeping the cattle alive. And he adds that they were thankful for a small breeze. The backup at one of the world's busiest shipping lanes continues to grow. Hundreds of ships are now waiting to cross the Panama Canal. Reports over the weekend that the backup is impacting up to 200 ships on each side of the corridor. Reuters reporting some ships are delayed nearly a month, pushing spot shipping prices up 36%. Now, severe drought is limiting the amount of water available for getting those large ships through the channel. Owners have the option of carrying less cargo or shifting to alternative routes, which can add thousands of miles to the trip. More than 14,000 ships crossed the canal in 2022. Commodity markets facing pressure nearly across the board on Tuesday. We'll talk about what the latest crop tour data means for grain prices coming up next. And later, some well-placed sunflowers are raising eyebrows in England, how the farmers are handling the situation in the country. The market's keeping a close eye on this year's Pro Farmer Crop Tour to see the yield potential and how that will incorporate into the latest FSA acreage data. Michelle Rook discusses it with Jim McCormick of agmarket.net in today's Markets Now.
Joining us with Markets Now, Jim McCormick with agmarket.net. Well, Jim, the yield and acreage debate on corn and soybeans is going to continue to rage for a while. In yield, let's talk about that one. Pro Farmer Crop Tour, some boots on the ground helping out, but we're going to be doing this yield debate all the way through combines rolling, aren't we?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, the reality is we're going to get a little bit better handle what's going on out there with the Pro Farmer Tour as they go out. I mean, the rhetoric here over the last couple of weeks was, hey, farmers, go out and look in your fields. When we look from the road, it looks really, really impressive, but we did some damage, especially to the corn in the latter part of June. We had the intense heat and we were under a lot of drought stress. So we'll see what they say, but the reality is it is a relatively small snippet of the overall corn acres bean acres that the tour hits. So this debate is going to be ongoing, like you said, until we actually get into the fields.
Yeah, and then you add heat from this week on top of it, and that's going to make the yield debate rage even louder, I would think.
No doubt about it. I mean, when you get extreme heat in August, up near 100 degrees, not a lot of rain in the forecast the next 2 weeks. A lot of this crop has reached maturity, but a lot of it hasn't. So with that extreme weather hitting us, no doubt about it, the talk is how much damage is being done when this heat hits us.
Absolutely. Okay, acreage, we also want to talk about that because FSA did put out acreage data, prevent plant data the same day as the WASDE, and there's some fear about what that's going to mean here going forward, right?
No doubt about it. There's a lot of rhetoric of we're going to see more bean acres and less corn acres. I want to caution people to be a little bit conservative about it. This is initial data. We will get more FSA data as we go over the next couple months. But definitely a lot of debate because that acreage survey in June was so much different than it was in March. So, that's going to add to debate. I mean, if you pick up bean acres, you happen to pick up a bushel of beans through the recent rains we've had, it could be a very negative supply situation building. So yes, any acreage adjustments the FSA does force onto the market could have a big impact on pricing.
And does the adjustment get made in September or later on in the reports?
They'll make some adjustments in September, and I also believe, Michelle, will get a few more adjustments in October. So we won't get those final acreage numbers till the end of the year. So the debate on the acres, just like the yield, will continue.
Thanks for joining us. Jim McCormick, agmarket.net. That's Markets Now, and more Ag Days coming up.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net.
Tropical storm Harold made landfall last night, and he is still out there making his way across the Rio Grande. He is expected to continue as a low pressure system, delivering some decent amount of moisture to places that honestly could use it. So we're going to take a look at your drought monitor, noticing a lot of Texas, especially down toward the south near the very southerly portions of Texas, still seeing a lot of that drought. So the rain much wanted. Precipitation estimates for the next 24 hours. We are going to be watching again, so you can see south of San Antonio some much needed rainfall. But actually looking at another thing, Harold continuing his trek over Mexico, making his way over toward the Mojave. Again, another round of rain. Got Harold and Hillary both giving some rain to places that you don't usually see it out toward Arizona and New Mexico. I won't be stretching into Nevada just yet, but still a lot of rain has fallen in places that haven't usually seen any. You don't usually see any in general just due to that desert weather. But again, you can be seeing a good portion of the Four Corners. We'll be seeing that rainfall coming in from the leftovers of Harold. Also a little bit of rainfall out toward the northeast where not as big a demand for the rain, but still this time of year, everyone's going to be wanting some more of that rain. And continuing as we head into that Friday time frame, more rain expected in the more northerly portions of the Great Plains. That jet stream, again, we are watching these temperatures to start falling down as we get in the next several days. The overall strength of this high pressure is going to start fading off over the next several days. It's something we're really hoping does happen because, of course, the temperatures are going to be really warm out toward the western parts of the U.S. Easterly portions of the U.S. will start falling below average, thankfully, though the moisture not as much as we get into that last part of your August, as we're getting into September, as a lot of us start getting ready for fall. In Clairton, Iowa, a toasty 100 degrees, lows sitting in the mid 70s. Big Fork, Minnesota, going to be looking at highs only in the upper 70s, still doing pretty good toward the North Minnesota. Burlington, pretty toasty, high of 97.
The battle over California's Proposition 12 makes its way to D.C. We'll talk about those details next. And later, photo shoots on the farm aren't too uncommon, but needing to ask participants to stay clothed is a little unique. We'll explain in the country.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
About 40% of members in the House of Representatives have come out against the EATS Act. Around 150 members of the House, including a large number of Democrats and a handful of Republicans, have voiced their opposition to including it or similar legislation in the coming Farm Bill. Now, EATS stands for Ending Agricultural Trade Suppression Act. It would counteract California's Proposition 12. The lawmakers against this plan feel it could actually threaten small farms, impinge on state laws, and compromise states' rights. The EATS Act would allow producers, distributors, consumers, and laborers to file lawsuits in federal court to invalidate state or local pre-harvest ag production standards or preconditions applied to products sold in interstate commerce. Supporters of the plan stress the importance of protecting interstate commerce and ensuring state-specific regulations don't apply to other states. And now another state's law over pork is making its way through the courts. Massachusetts Question 3. Next month, pork producers will present their case in front of a judge with the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. A lawsuit was brought by Triumph Foods and other plaintiffs. The hearing comes after the implementation of Question 3, also known as the Act to Prevent Cruelty to Farm Animals, which goes into effect today. Now, Question 3 will make it illegal to sell uncooked whole pork meat that doesn't adhere to the state's sow housing standards. It will also prohibit the transshipment of such pork through Massachusetts. Now, some exceptions are permitted over the next 6 months during the law's rollout. Fields of sunflowers make beautiful photos, but some visitors at one English farm are taking their beauty a little too far. A cheeky display from across the pond, next in the country.
Closed captioning on AgDay is brought to you by BASF, helping you do the biggest job on Earth.
We don't expect to see this anywhere on Crop Tour, but people venturing out into One farm field in the UK are having to be told to keep their clothes on. The Stoke Fruit Farm on Hayling Island issued the unusual request regarding their sunflower field on social media. Now, the owners say too many visitors to the field of 2 million sunflowers were posing naked among them for photo shoots, although there are remote areas of the farm on an island off England's south coast. Many were posing nude right out in the open, and the farm's owners became concerned after children visiting that farm may have seen more than they should have, and they want to keep things family friendly. And although there have been risque social media posts from the farm before, they say this is the first year it has become a real problem. And that's all the time we have this morning. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to join us again tonight at 8 o'clock Central for Crop Tour Live. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great one.